Illinois faces some big challenges. Today, you're about to hear a truly honest analysis of the problems we face. Equally important, you'll also hear an in-depth discussion of some practical solutions. This is your radio source for stories, the insight, and the answers you won't hear anywhere else, not in the media, and not coming from Springfield. You're listening to Illinois Rising, presented by the Illinois Opportunity Project. Now, here's your host, AM 560's Dan Proft.
Welcome to another edition of Illinois Rising. I'm Dan Proft, co-host of Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, weekdays 5 to 9 a.m. with Amy Jacobson. And joining me is Pat Hughes, who is the co-founder of the Illinois Opportunity Project. And Pat, Lake County, we talk a lot about property taxes on this show. It seems to be the topic on everybody's mind, understandably, because we pay the highest property tax in the nation here in Illinois. And people's homes are being liquidated out from underneath them, and they're not too keen about that. In Lake County, it's more pronounced than it is in most of the rest of the state. One study, not done by the newspapers I started, finds Lake County with the highest median property tax bill, the 22nd highest median property tax bill in the country, as for at the county level. But you're talking about significant attrition in home values throughout Lake County, and we've done the study on this through my newspapers and written stories about it. We're going to write more stories. The question is, what can be done about it, and is it largely a state, or largely a local issue, or is it going to need to be a combination of the two? Well, for more on this topic and others related to state policy, we're pleased to be joined by Ken Idstein, who is a Republican candidate running for state representative. He's running to face off against Democrat incumbent Sam Yingling in the general. He does have a primary election, and in the interest of full disclosure, I'm supporting Ken in his primary challenge, and I will support him if he wins that primary challenge against Sam Yingling, so factor that in however you want. Ken, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Yes, hey, thank you for this opportunity. I'm really excited to be on your show.
Well, so talk a little bit about, you've been in Grays Lake for many, many moons, you and your family, and talk about property taxation there, where I think the last time I checked, you're talking about like 4.5% of home value, which is twice the state average and about 4 times the national average for Grays Lake families and other families in your district, and what your discussions on property taxes are and what you aim to do about it if you get to Springfield.
Well, certainly, the top concern as I walk doors and I'm hearing at the door are both property and income taxes. Many are planning on leaving Illinois if things don't change. While at the door yesterday, the homeowner shared her concerns about excessive and duplicative government. The discussion about a tax cap needs to continue. Along with this, there needs to be reform. We can consolidate duplicative units of government and find new solutions to fund schools. As a mortgage banker, I see many other states with alternative income sources that could be applied here in Illinois.
Ken, tell us about, and full disclosure for me too, I'm a supporter of Ken's with the groups that I'm affiliated with, Illinois Liberty PAC and Illinois Opportunity Project. Ken, tell us about your experience as a mortgage broker and what sort of what you've seen as a trend in the business community. You're obviously in the business of helping people finance their homes, sort of the decrease in that business, people leaving the state to find residences elsewhere, or people who want to leave and can't because they can't sell their home or they can't get an affordable mortgage.
Yeah, that's certainly a problem. More and more over the previous years, certainly I've helped clients move out of state. My consulting is more and more short term. It used to be long term. Now they're telling me, Ken, if things don't turn around, I retire in 2 years and I'm moving out of state. Or my youngest child graduates in 3 years, and if things don't change in Illinois, we are moving out of state. If of course we can sell the house with these high taxes.
What was the impetus for you to get in and go from your private business and your other activities in the community that you've called home for so many years. What galvanized you into this race and running for state representative?
Yeah, great question. I decided to seek this office because, as we just discussed a little bit, over the last decade, many of my lifelong friends have been forced to move out of Illinois. And many others, including my son, threatened to leave because he just can't afford the property taxes. The state's problems are breaking down the family unit. I'm standing up to make a lasting change for the state that is dear to my heart. I'm not going to move out like so many others. I want to keep my family and my friends here. I'm going to stay and fight.
Do you get the sense that people are doing a better job of making the connection between, say, the incumbents that you would face if you won the primary, Sam Yingling, and Mike Madigan? And we have districts like yours in the suburbs where you've got Democrat incumbents who pretend that they're independent of Madigan because of even some surrender Republicans who voted for that income tax increase you mentioned. Sam Yingling was given a pass, and he was able to avoid having to vote for it, even though, of course, we understand he supported it in principle, and it was just allowed to pass because of cowardly Republicans. But do you get the sense that people are getting the gist of the game that is being run on them with respect to an incumbent like Yingling, who's really there to do the bidding of Madigan, and he gets a pass on some controversial pieces of legislation like an income tax increase when he gets help for the Democrats or when Madigan can protect him for the purposes of his reelection?
Yes, certainly. I hear that often at the door and on the street. They're well aware of Sam's protection being offered by Madigan, for sure. I want to share my most recent endorsement is from a longtime friend, Paul Yingling, who just so happens to be my opponent's uncle.
That's interesting.
Even he is ready for change in Springfield, and he believes that I am the best candidate to make that change.
That's going to make for some awkward Thanksgiving dinners over at the Yingling house, don't you think, Ken?
That just might, and it actually has for quite a long time.
Well, that's fun. Yingling endorses Idstein. That's a pretty good headline. That'll grab people's attention.
That's a sign writer across the top.
Yeah,
Yingling
right.
For Idstein.
Yeah, right.
So Ken, take the listeners who this might be the first time that they're sort of meeting you. What's your campaign like? What are you guys doing on a daily basis? What kind of support have you generated? I know there's been a lot of excitement in the district for you, and I know you guys are working hard. Take people through a little bit of how you're garnering support.
Yeah. Thanks for asking that. The campaign is going very well. Continues to build momentum every day, from new television commercials down to an old friend I connect with knocking on doors who writes me a check for $25. As I was knocking doors yesterday, a constituent drove around her block to track me down to ask for a yard sign. This coming Saturday, we've got a Super Saturday going on. We've got a bunch of volunteers getting together, a little powwow in the morning, and then we're going to hit the streets in the storm and continue our constituents. And our target this weekend is 1,000 doors.
Do you get the sense?
Myself and volunteers.
Do you get the sense that when you're going door to door and you're talking to people, you get the sense that we're coming up to kind of a last stand for people, particularly in a border county like Lake County, and as you get a little bit further north, that people like, look, if this doesn't turn around substantially and relatively quickly, then I'm pulling the plug.
Yeah, exactly. And as you shared, us being so close to the border, it's so easy I'll take my son. He works in Lake Forest, lives in Grays Lake right now. He could just easily turn north up the tollway, probably have a shorter commute, but get out and pay lower taxes and not deal with Illinois. And yes, the sentiment out there is that, if it doesn't turn around now, then people are not going to wait any longer. Some are already, there's for sale signs. Majority of the for sale signs, I knock on those doors. They're moving out due to taxes and issues in the state. since 2010, Illinois lost nearly 643,000 people on that to our neighboring states. A stat I researched the other day tells us that we are losing one resident every 4.6 minutes to our neighbors.
Hey, Ken, those are brutal numbers, and I'm glad that you're running to address them. And for those who are like you, standing up and staying, who want to be participants in this fight, who want to join the movement of your candidacy, how do they contact you? How do they volunteer? How do they come and help out? What's your website? How do they get a hold of you?
Yeah, great. So email is friendsofkenidstein@gmail.com. Website is electkenidstein.com.
electkenidstein.com.
Yes, I'm sorry. Right.
No problem. He is Ken Idstein. He's running for state representative in Lake County, the Grays Lake area. Elect Ken Idstein, IDSTEIN.com is the website. Ken, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day.